Welcome, buddy.
Thanks, Howie.
Thank you for coming. I've been trying to snaggle you.
I know. I don't know that I was...
No, you weren't avoiding. You're very busy.
Yeah, I think that was it.
What?
It's not very convincing. I think he was avoiding.
No, I know him. He was not avoiding.
No, I was a little overwhelmed all the time.
But that's your
Me
resting.
too.
That's your resting position. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's your Diet Coke.
Thank you.
You seem relaxed today.
Well, I didn't sleep much, and that's usually good for me being relaxed.
Did you all the anticipation about being on this podcast?
Yeah,
kept you up at night?
after I saw you last night, and I said I do this, and then I was just sort of like, what am I going to say to Howie? Why am I going out there to his? Everyone's become Byron Allen.
I don't own the weather. I don't know. This is not.
Who knew Byron Allen would be the model for all of us to start our own studio systems?
Well, you know, it's the opposite. It would really bother me. There's a couple of it. You started in podcasting before anybody I knew did podcasting. And what I found kind of a little harrowing is that people had to come to your house.
That was a big plus for me.
Really?
It wasn't harrowing. I think that it was the kind of basis for the type of thing I was doing. That it all kind of fed into...
What the fuck were you doing?
Well, I found that when people have to come into your house, and that was a small house, and it was very specific and very, of me. And there was one bathroom, and there was no cameras. So when people came over, the vibe was, I'm in this guy's home, I'm in this guy's space. Immediately it becomes intimate, if not candid, before we even get into the garage. So the entire vibe created the intimacy possible to kind of create what I created.
And what you created was basically an industry. You're one of the first comics I know to have...
Yeah, but I never thought of it like that. What's happened with it is not, it was definitely never anything I intended. There was never a way to make money. There was never a way to...
You didn't make a lot of money?
At the beginning, there was no way to do it. There was no way to make money because what are you going to do? You couldn't charge people for the podcast because then you would close the gate to building your audience. There were no real sponsors yet. I mean, Corolla, who come from radio, was doing basically a radio show. So for the first couple of years, there were kind of terrestrial radio middlemen, trying to sell what were basically terrestrial radio ads. You didn't have a rate sheet at that time. The numbers were not relative to anything that they understood. So there really was no real way to make money for the first few years for most people. At the beginning, we set up kind of a tiered donation system before Patreon, where people could make donations, monthly, pops, for swag. I was stuffing envelopes in my house for different tiers of monthly donations. So it was never, it was never focused on industry or business. The business
You just wanted strange people in your house to talk to?
Yeah, basically. Well, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I'd come out of radio. My comedy career was not really moving, and I'd been at it a long time, and it was, it was a fairly dark time, but I knew I had chops on a radio mic, and we started doing the podcast when we got fired from that radio job because I knew a few other people were doing it, but it was really
Why'd
more
you get
about
fired?
From Air America. I got fired twice. The first time there was some sort of restructuring, and the guy was a moron. Danny Goldberg, you know Danny Goldberg?
No.
He's a moron. And then the second time we started a streaming show, they pulled me back in before streaming was really doable. We knew that there was no way it was going to last more than a year. So it was really just they closed down shop. And the great thing about being part of a progressive network is that they fired us, but we still had 2 months on the contract, but so they didn't throw us out of the building. So we were able to kind of break into the studio because we knew the night tech and start the podcast there in a real radio studio.
How long before you started making money?
Well, we started making money on the tiered thing. We were making,
away.
yeah, but it wasn't, a fortune. It was enough to kind of get me by. But my producer for years he was working in upper management at Sirius, and he was producing Rosie O'Donnell's show, and then he was at Chris Hayes' show, and he had a no-compete deal, so he couldn't even say that he was my producer until well into it. I guess we started making money. The ads started getting bigger once everybody, once it became a business, because we were there when that happened. It was not really a business that was something anyone would get into, for anybody for a long time.
I remember hearing like Howard shit on it whenever Adam Carolla was in his studio, and Howard Stern would shit
And
on
what
the
you
whole
were
podcast
doing,
world. Yeah.
He shit on podcasts in a broad way.
In general, like,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
are you doing?
Sure.
How's there any money in this? Where's the future in it? And I heard it over and over again.
Yeah, well, a lot of people thought that, and a lot of people didn't know what it was or where they were coming to when they came to my house. Howard recently, because I announced that we're stopping WTF. The ironic thing about Howard, who I love, is that, he mentioned me a couple of weeks ago. He said, well, if Maron's burnt out, I must be dead. And he doesn't realize the irony of that.
That's very funny. Is that what are you taking there? Is that chew? Is that
Zin, yeah, it's nicotine. But I guess the money came in once, Earwolf Network started, Earwolf started, advertisers started coming around. But I think the big jump was what was it called? Jeff Ulrich had started an ad platform for podcasters. So once the advertisers started to realize the power of podcasting, and once we were able to have efficient and reliable, kind of rate sheets based on numbers, then it started to come in.
And you have decided to throw it all away.
No, I just decided to stop.
Why?
Well, I think my description is a lot more colorful than yours.
You and Tana. Tana's stopping too.
Who's Tana?
She's another podcaster.
Yeah, I mean, it's complicated, but not really. We've been doing this 16 years.
Right.
We were an audio podcast. We remained an audio podcast for a reason, because we believe in audio, and we're audio guys, and my producer's an audio guy. And, my podcast was never really just about generating content. There was a certain mission to it, and each one is pretty unique and pretty high quality in terms of what happens on them. And I think my producer and I, and it's always been just the two of us, we're not part of a network. We're not part of we just do the work. And I think we've grown to see it as a body of work that we haven't really lost our audience. And I don't know, we're just kind of, we did it. Why do you have to keep going?
And this was simpatico between you two?
Yeah, that was the way it would go. He's always been my, 50-50 partner, and we just always had an agreement that, whoever says we're done, we're done.
Wow. It seems like people, listen, we got into this, as my daughter, by the way. Jackie and I got into this by accident during COVID. We were just doing it as a form of communication because everybody was so separated. But I've grown to love it.
Yeah.
And it just seems, you always look at the world through your own lens, and you go, listen, if you've garnered an audience, and you seem like a curious person who kind of likes to have conversations, very varied conversations.
Sure.
It's like you haven't talked to everybody.
Mostly. I mean, we've talked to a lot of people.
I know.
I do like the conversation. I don't know what the impact it'll have on my social life or my psychological life. But, we've been doing, 2 new episodes a week, totally new episodes for 16 years, no breaks. And I don't know. The world has changed a bit, and the sort of uniqueness of whatever the hell's happening. I mean, there's enough people yammering in the world, and I built an audience, but I'm also, going to be 62, and I'd kind of like to see what that space that it's going to afford me will do, either creatively or personally or just otherwise.
Speaking of which, go ahead.
Do you think the world of podcasting has just become kind of oversaturated now that...
Well, it's obviously become oversaturated and nobody ever shuts up. So whatever it is, it's not that interesting anymore.
And if you there's nobody holding you back. If you think you've made the wrong decision or you change your mind, you can come back.
Yeah, come back is what I don't know. I know that there are a lot of people that rely on me in a way. I do a certain type of show that seems to bring a lot of comfort to a certain type of person.
Who do you comfort?
I comfort, kind of usually sensitive, creative, progressive people who, struggle with a lot of different things. I mean, it's a broad audience, but I have gotten, hundreds of emails about people thanking me that, I helped them get sober, that I talked them off the ledge, that I saved their life, that, and I know I'm sensitive to that part of my audience, and it's a large part of it. And I feel there is a weight of that. There's a funny story in the Comedy Store. It's very funny. You'll like it because it's where you come from. I was in the hallway. I was talking to Dice. This is only maybe a year ago. Dice is Dice. I love him, and he's sort of like, yeah, I'm gonna do the garden. Whatever the hell. That's all gonna happen. And we're just having the conversation. He's talking at me, and a guy walks up to me. He goes, I'm sorry to interrupt you guys, but Marc, listen, I was going to email you. It's really amazing. I'm seeing you in person. I just want to, I want to thank you, for what you do, the podcast. It really got me through a dark time, and I just, I really appreciate it. I'm very grateful to you. I just wanted to say that. Thanks. And I'm like, glad to help out, buddy. And he walks away. And Dice says, I never get that. Yeah, you're the reason I lost my job. You're the reason I got kicked out of school. You're the reason my wife left me.
That's a great story. But that's what you brought. And I don't know you that well.
You mad at me?
Not at all.
Okay.
Are you mad at me?
No. I
thought
I took a couple shots at you on stage last night.
I know. I saw that last night.
Pretty funny though.
Yeah, it was funny. Funny in the. I felt bad. So just to fill you in, I went to the Comedy Store last night. That's where I saw Marc, and I said, "Come on tomorrow," and he was nice enough and gracious enough to say yes.
Yeah.
And then I'll tell you what happened. I'll give you the lead up to this. It's the first time I worked in front of an audience, and they had those. What's it called? Flounder. What's the thing where they have the. What do they call it? Yonder.
Oh, yeah, but they put the phones in the bags.
They put the phone in the bags. Yeah. Nobody had access to a phone. I haven't been anywhere.
Joe Rogan's, don't they do that?
Yeah, Joe Rogan's Club, yeah.
Yeah.
They do?
Yeah.
No, they do it. They do it. They used to do it for certain acts. There were certain acts.
Chappelle was the one who brought it to fruition.
Right. Yeah, and it's not a bad idea. It's funny. I don't care. My fans. This is the thing about my fans. They're decent adult people. I've never had an issue with people taping shit and putting it up there.
Well, so I'm a little bit more protective than you probably just by. We're both neurotic, but I'm suffering all the time for being neurotic, and
you're also on a family network.
That was what I was going to say. I love my job on AGT. I work for NBC.
I see. So you're worried you're going to get, in trouble for talking dirty.
Yeah, my favorite thing out of everything I do, and sorry if this offends you, young lady, but is stand-up comedy.
Not being a father.
That's a different area.
Yeah.
No, we can't. You can't put them in the same thing.
All right. Thank you.
Well, and you can see the issues. Huh? You see the issues.
Sure, but of course it's not being a father. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So I saw this, and I just, not since the 70s at the Comedy Store did I feel like, oh my God. So
freedom.
I did a primal scream last night. I don't think I did well. I think I just...
You did well.
No, well, I think people were responding, but it was the guy from AGT that was yelling out. You were there, Kyle. I was using language and terms and just screaming, a primal scream of just verbal vocabulary freedom.
Yeah, good for you.
And it felt like, I got on such a high, just such a, like, haven't been able to do this.
But what do you do? But you do stand up still.
Yeah.
Like
But-
what? But like what? Vegas? Where do you go?
I play Vegas everywhere. I'll go anywhere. Go to HowieMandel.com. But there is
But so you do a clean set.
no, but I don't.
But you're cognizant of offending people or getting canceled for your network.
and I don't think it's
gigs.
is happening. I think the pendulum has come back somewhat.
Yeah.
But you know, I've got very close friends who
Yeah,
are
but
just,
you're also not the kind of guy that's going to necessarily say that kind of shit that would really get you in trouble.
No, but what I've loved about stand-up and what stand-up gave me is, you know, I think we're similar. I've listened to you in the past. You know, I had a hard, my family was very supportive, but
Yeah.
I have mental health issues.
Yeah.
Just being present is somewhat of a struggle, and I found that stand-up comedy gave me a place to kind of live in the now.
I think that's. I think I have a bit of that. Yeah.
I think you do.
Yeah.
In listening to you, that's what I feel a kinship to you.
Yeah.
Much closer to you than you probably think we are. But
I absolutely think we're similar.
okay.
Yeah.
But I've never had this discussion with you.
Well, it's nice.
So it is nice,
Yeah.
and I respect you, and I think you're a very smart guy, and
Funny?
Yes.
Well, that's good.
very funny.
That's good.
Until you start shitting on me like you did last night, but that's okay. That's what he did.
I didn't hear it. I want to hear what he said.
Well, I was in such a high. I left the stage, and then I was fucking around backstage, and the door was open, and I didn't realize that I've been told by you how loud I am.
Yeah. And I told him to shut the door, but that was after I took 2 shots at him on jokes.
Yeah.
But I thought they were pretty funny.
Tell her.
What did I say? After you got off, I just took a beat up there on stage, and I took the mic out, and I said, "They never stop, these guys."
Like it's time for me to go.
I get it. I get the joke. That you don't have to explain
I know.
it to me.
I heard that. I heard that. What, did you hear something, Rich?
Yeah, then he
And
said
then-
that they're making him laugh like it's 1972.
Oh yeah, he killed it like it's 1978. He killed like it was 1978. And then I started doing the hand, right?
Yeah.
So I started doing that. And then when I told him I said, "Shut the door, Jesus!" I said, "He's still going back there with the hand. He's in the dressing room."
And I felt so terrible, and I said to Rich, I said, "Let's go. I don't even want to face him." And I
was all
wonder if he's
good
going to
fun.
show up today. I know, but I don't know you that well to
I'm
know.
always worried that I'm gonna go too far because I'm not great at busting balls.
He is very sensitive too.
No, I know we all are, and
but we
I
come off like we're not.
Well, I learned to take it. You got to take it. But sometimes it's a little mean. But I have certain ways of, you only got 15 minutes at that place. So if you're going on after a strong act, without, there's things I'll say to get them into my groove because my groove is different. I'm very sort of organic. I need the space to, get out of the rhythm that a lot of you guys do. And so I have things that I say to, like if Paulie goes on before me, he'll bring me up and I'll get on stage and I'll go, "Yep, that's what he looks like now." And,
But all comedy is mean. That's my
I
contention.
just got to get that one beat so I can, change the speed. Like if I follow Eliza or Whitney, I'll usually say, "Okay, let's just take it down a notch." Just a beat that is sometimes at the expense of somebody, but not personally hostile, to reconfigure them. Because you remember when you're starting out, which I'm not, but sometimes if you're following somebody, that's does a thing that's big or it's very strong, you're going to take 5 minutes.
But that's why they always put Dice. You were talking about Dice.
Yeah.
Mitzi ended up realizing that and putting him on at 1 o'clock in the morning because
But that's probably how he became him.
it is.
Yeah, I mean, you got to fight it out, and you get a little more time sometimes at that hour. You can do shit that you can't do at 8.
Right.
It makes sense. But I always sometimes I'm like, shit, did I go too far? I have been mean, and I have to apologize for that. But I think that yours
I asked
was
you
on the
about that
level.
last night. Yeah, but you get into. There's been like controversy between you and other comics, right?
Not too much. I mean, there was like recently. I don't find that that's true, but there was a guy that was talking shit about me for a while, and it was brought to my attention. I really didn't know who he was, and it was really his problem. But it's like he's publicly talking shit, and and he recently got passed over the store, and I had to just say, you can be all right, or what do we? Yeah, I work here, so are you okay?
Can I say his name? Or
Jeff Dye.
Jeff Dye.
Yeah, I mean, and
you didn't even know who he was.
I didn't. I really didn't. But it was like, when you talk shit, and we all do it to a certain degree, and that's another thing about podcasts and why it's saturated, is that, you hear these stories now. All of a sudden, like, there are the clickbait world feeds on little tidbits of garbage. And, after a certain point, people have been around a while. They'll just start throwing dead people under the bus. I was on set with Olivier once and he fucked a dog. And you're like, wait, what? And then all of a sudden that becomes news. And it's like, that culture of that is nothing but destructive. So when someone's talking shit and they continue to do it and you're alive, it behooves you to, instead of engage in a public way, to go, would you want to resolve this, or you just want to keep talking shit?
Do you engage at all? Are you familiar with, do you care about pop culture?
A bit. Like what?
Do you watch reality TV?
No. I don't watch reality TV. I don't listen to podcasts. I didn't pay attention to the Diddy trial. I don't know what the Kardashians do. I don't. And, I kind of live my life in the vacuum of things that interest me, and none of that is that.
Howie Mandel here. Ever feel like you've been hit by a bus? Turns out a lot of us are running on empty thanks to vitamin deficiencies. Marcus Products has a lineup made straight from the earth to help you stop feeling like a zombie. From the green formula to herbal super vitamin C and even a cookbook called Love on the Plate, Marcus has something for everyone. No fillers, no weird chemicals, and nothing that sounds like a side effect in a pharmaceutical ad. Head over to marcusproducts.com and use the code Howie10 for 10% off store-wide.
Are you on social media at all?
Yes.
Yeah, I am. I'm very passive on what was Twitter. I just promote the show there. I primarily just promote the show on that Blue Sky app. I have social media people that put stuff on TikTok. I don't go on.
But you got a special coming out, so you want to.
Well, I'm on Instagram, and I'm
August 1st, Netflix, right?
No, HBO.
HBO. That's what I call HBO now.
Yeah,
It's the same thing.
I like working with HBO because it's still sort of a curated shop. Do you know what I mean? You can.
Well, there's less. You're going to stand out on HBO,
Well, that's
whereas
right.
you're
And
one of 8 million on Netflix.
It disappears, and it just becomes part of the churn, the algorithmic garbage churn.
So HBO, August 1st.
Yeah, Panicked.
Are you?
That's the name of the special.
I know. Are you?
I have it. It's one of my neurotic problems. A certain amount of, I did finally, take action around this specific thing that I've lived with for a long time.
You panic. You have panic attacks?
Well, no, I don't have panic attacks. It's not like that. It's not a fear thing, but like there's an urgency all the time. I have a dread. So it's not panic in the sense of like, I can't deal. It's more like, oh, fuck, I gotta. No, you don't have to do anything.
Are you afraid to die?
Sure, to a degree. I think about it a lot.
Well, we're in our 60s now.
I'm in my 60s. You're older, though.
Yeah, I'm going to be 70 this year.
So you're in your late 60s. I don't know if I'm panicked about that. When I think about it a lot, like lately I've been thinking in a very weird philosophical way about nothingness and about, death, in that, like, once you die, it's truly timeless. Like, in the sense that you die, sure, your world ends, but you're no longer going to, like, the thing keeps spinning. So once you die, you enter eternity. And everyone here is still, like, churning through whatever the fuck the end of this whole thing is going to be. And there's a certain peace in that.
Are you religious?
No.
No.
No
Are you
God.
no God, atheist?
Jew. Not atheist. I don't care.
You don't care. What if you... What?
I mean, is that weird?
No.
My brother's always been sort of a spiritual, searchy kind of guy, always looking for the right template to kind of sit in his spirituality. But I never had that. I don't feel the need for it.
Wouldn't it be freaky if, like, after we die, it's a podcast?
That's hell. That would be
Never-ending
hell.
podcast.
We're living in that now.
Oh my God.
That's happening now, all around us.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hell is other podcasts.
Do you fear?
Why do you have such an issue with other podcasts? I feel like podcasting to a lot of people, like I see Billy in our office doing his podcast, and
Bill?
I feel like Billy
Oh, just a guy?
Billy Bush.
Oh, okay.
And
Billy
I
Bush
feel
does
like
a
it's
podcast,
people.
right?
I know you're saying a lot of people go to podcasting now, and everyone has a podcast, but people that have been on TV or network television, there's a sense of freedom now that they get a podcast and get to do whatever they want. That a lot of
that
comics
doesn't mean
feel.
that doesn't mean that that's good.
Oh, okay.
I mean, sure, I'm glad everyone has freedom. At least it exists somewhere. Apparently, it's yammering into a mic for nobody.
All right.
So, like the thing is like, I understand the personal, freedom of it, and I understand that there are people that did other things, and now they're like, hey, we get to talk finally. That doesn't mean it's going to be good, and it doesn't mean, and I'm not judging them either.
But they don't have to be good. It's how it's received. If somebody.
That's right, Howie. Absolutely, it's how it's received, and if people are enjoying it, that's great. I don't have I don't have a problem with podcasts, but It's just that there was a time, I think, when you were coming up and when I was coming up, where when you did something, it meant something, and it doesn't anymore.
Well, I don't agree with you there. I think when we were coming up, there were, 3 networks.
Yeah, it was-
HBO just started.
It was great.
If you went and did the Howard Stern show,
Meant
the
something.
nation knew. It doesn't mean it was
Carson.
any more important. The point is that now there are so many. We're so saturated with you won't get heard. And I always
That's
talk.
what I just said. It means nothing.
Well, I think less people are receiving it. It doesn't mean it has any less meaning. So,
But look, I feel that there was a time, there is an issue. There's a problem with gatekeepers. All right, there is an injustice to it. All right, when you're pounding away and you only have a few outlets and a few shows to make your break on, and some guy who doesn't like you for whatever reason is holding you back. It's horrible. But there was a specialness to it. And if you did rise to a certain level where your craft was such that you were doing something extraordinary, or special, or interesting, or even entertaining, that when you broke through, the world knew about it.
Right.
Now, I agree that there are a lot of talented people doing a lot of different things, but I think what's happened is people are chasing numbers. They're chasing the algorithm. There are comics doing a minute of crowd work specifically to get 1 million hits. To do what? So what we once got into for freedom, as comics, where we could sort of dictate, what we do and how we do it and our point of view and learn how to do it and build a voice and everything. Now people are just total whores to the algorithm and only chasing these clicks with no craft, no sense of originality, because all they care about is this immediate sense of relevance you get from filling a room to watch you talk to people in the audience. So,
but
what?
but I'm not as judgmental as you, even though I'm a judge on AGT.
Maybe you should be less neurotic. Maybe you're not.
My neurosis is much more interior
I
than
know.
exterior. But what I'm saying is, I'm not judging the fact that somebody does a minute of crowd work. That's good. If you do that, and you're doing it to get 1 million clicks, and it blows up, and for some reason, see, this is where my curiosity and fear and neurosis come. I'm not communicating the way people the culture is flowing, and I have this need to flow along with that.
Yeah, but that's fucking crazy.
Is it?
I think so.
Why?
I don't know how it makes you more. It doesn't make you, because you don't have any reason to chase anything. It's not flowing.
It's fun. It's like a sport. It's like a game. It's a
okay.
challenge.
All right, well, I get that. So I guess I have
as
a different point of view.
We do.
Of what it means to do something special.
As somebody who is neurotic, as somebody who deals with panic, you made a choice. You didn't have to. You're a very smart, intelligent. You were a smart, intelligent young man. Now you're a smart, intelligent, middle-aged guy.
Right.
You could have probably provided for yourself in many other ways.
Doubt it. But okay, I doubt it.
Really?
Yeah, I was pretty hobbled. Yeah, I was not in terms of mentally and otherwise. I don't know that there was another path for me that I could see. but I appreciate it.
But I'm saying you put yourself in the position of standing in front of strangers and
That's
being
right.
and being judged. The public. Most people believe that the two hardest things in the world are public speaking and standing there
Sure.
in front of. So you put yourself in a really tough position.
Yeah.
You didn't have to. Why did you?
Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. I think, there's psychological reasons. Or like for me, why did I do stand up? But just to get back to the other point real quick, is that
the same point? Go ahead.
No, we can connect it, but I don't want to sound like I'm just some old man screaming at the sky. I believe in the craft and the art, if you want to call it that, of stand up. It's what I've done my whole life.
Right.
And there are stand ups in my life and specials in my life that made a profound impact, because the people that were doing it were at such a level that they brought something new and interesting and entertaining and resonated with me for a lifetime. And I think there is a way to do it. I believe that there is, and maybe I'm old school, but I believe that, if you're putting clips up and you're 2 years in, why are you doing that to yourself? You don't even know who you are yet.
Because that's the path now.
Yeah, but that's not the path of stand-up. It's not
Anymore.
Fine, but that's not the way I see it, and I can be critical of that. There's some guys that still do it the real way, and they're spectacular. Bargatze does real shit, no crowd work, solid fucking hour tens, every year or two, and and he believes in the craft as it was laid out to me. That you build your personality, and then you build your hours, and you make new hours, and you do something interesting, and and hold your voice, and kind of elevate whatever you're trying to do. I understand that business is different, but what is great is still great.
In your opinion, what is great is still great. What I'm saying is, if you, I think I used this as an example yesterday to somebody. If you use the example of Dennis Miller, who became a kind of a
Sure.
a monologist, where he was, our vocabulary was like his prop.
It's funny. I had a guy, Chris Kelly, his dad. He was an old writer for the National Lampoon. Chris Kelly's a writer. He used to write for Mar, and then his dad. I'm forgetting his first name, but I met his dad once, and we were talking about Dennis, and I brought up Dennis's name, and he goes, Dennis Miller, fearlessly attacking trivia.
But he did. But there's people that listened to that and watched that and thought, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. It's smart.
Yeah.
It's intelligent.
Yeah.
It's entertaining.
Yeah.
He does put an incredible amount of work into that. Then there's the people that see Carrot Top, who I respect.
Yeah, I get it.
And
Yeah, okay.
So, but I mean, that's two different ends of the spectrum.
Yes.
And that is a craft, and there's as much
That's
goes
right.
into writing and engineering,
That's right.
whatever that prop is.
I'm agreeing
By the
with you.
same token, and I'll say it, Matt Rife, who I don't know his act per se.
Doesn't have one.
I don't know that. I've heard you say that.
Crowd work guy.
But it was really, really compelling. I mean, the one that blew up, I remember the first time I saw him, and there was that girl who had a breast job and made him cookies, and her daughter was on the phone. That was legitimately really funny. He posted it. I don't think he posted. He didn't know. He tells the story about he was up at JFL. His friend got on JFL, and he didn't get on.
I get your point. Yeah.
But who are we to say that to have the wherewithal to stand there and to be able to carry on a charming in the moment?
I get what you're saying.
Okay.
I expect more out of stand-up. So, you can lower your bar and live in that and accept all that, and that's fine with me. I don't care. But to tell me that, who am I to judge? I'm me to judge. Now, if you want to, exist and watch stand-up be watered down to any moron that can talk to a room full of morons, that's fine. I mean, I think everybody should be able to. I mean, I think crowd work's an important tool, usually for crowd management. You should know how to do it in case shit goes down in the room. But, a fairly clever teenager can do crowd work. I did it in high school. fine. But for me, that's, and I'm not even judging Matt. I understand what you're saying.
Because Matt is here, and I think he's your brother. Come on in.
People want me to talk to him. The people feel like that I'm being hard on him. I'm not really. I understand what crowd work is. And I've seen it a long time. There were guys when we were coming up that only did crowd work.
My first HBO special, I did crowd work, and I did my act, and I did crowd work.
It's fun. Jimmy Brogan, remember? All crowd work.
Right.
What was the other guy? Remember the area code guy? He's dead now. Mitchell Walters.
Mitch Walters.
Mitchell Walters. All crowd work. I mean, it's not. It's been around. Okay, there's all kinds of comedy. Like you said, Carrot Top, Dennis Miller. I got no problem. Professionals are professionals. Matt's a professional. But you asked me why I got into it, is that I felt when I was younger, and I'd done a lot of different stuff. I'd written stuff. I'd acted in plays. I did photography. I was always looking for a way to express myself. But because I was such a fan of comedy when I was growing up, for a very specific reason. When I watched comics when I was a kid, whether it was Don Rickles or Buddy Hackett, Jay Leno when he was younger, listening to Richard Pryor records, I found that the miracle of comedy was they made the world manageable, that they can take big ideas and bring them into a place where I understood them, I laughed at them, they could disarm fears, they could elevate your perception of things. They had a power through humor to make you see the world differently. And that to me was an amazing, magical thing. So when I got into comedy, it was not to see if I could talk to, it was not to spend the hour going like, how long you two been together? It's just not what, I was doing. What I wanted to do was speak my mind, own the territory, figure out who I was, both as a person and as a comic, and share my thoughts on things that I put together and constructed and I think are mind-blowing. And that's what I did it.
And you're doing it.
Right. So I've done this work and I've spent my life doing it, and I'm operating at the best of my ability at each point. This new special is definitely the best I've ever done. And I've been fortunate to never have become a big star because I can continue plowing away without totally hacking on myself or kind of repeating myself. I do a little bit. But that was my intention. So my judgment about crowd work as a comic is I think it's very funny. I can do it if I want to do it. I can do it if I need to do it. But I do think, if you keep lowering the bar and audiences are expecting you to just talk to them, that's not the comedy that I respect or that I want to do. And I think that, once everything loses its meaning because of this flow you're talking about, that it becomes the mediocrity is just abound, and also things that are great just kind of go away with the flow. There's so much shit.
Can I ask you your opinion? I've also been seeing, not about crowd work, but I've been seeing like Jackelyn having an issue with people like Tony Hinchcliffe, who he's saying uses profanity or just shock value comedy. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, at this point, it's lazy and sloppy and hackneyed. To be in a fucking club where, I'm walking down the hall at the comedy club, at the Comedy Store, and, in one room, someone's doing their bit about trans people, and then I get down the hall and there's someone on stage going, well, I guess I got to do my bit about trans people. Like, no, you don't. You don't. It's hack now. I mean, you guys got the freedom you wanted. You can now say whatever you want. They're defeated. Their rights have been denied. The policies that you guys encouraged with your stupid material are now policy. And now, half the people under the umbrella of anti-woke, we've lost a tremendous amount of democratic-leaning ideas and movements. So whether they knew it or not, that's what they were spearheading. So now it's reality, and you want to still keep kicking them?
I don't know that the comedians have had that much power.
Are you fucking out of your mind?
No, I'm being serious.
Joe Rogan. I'm not gonna.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
You can't separate. Like, if the movement is like, we're being censored. No, you're not. You're not. There's no constitutional censorship issue with your free speech. You say things, and in a democratic shit show of an environment, like Twitter or whatever, there's cultural pushback. And I'm not saying that it wasn't. It was pretty bad. in terms of, people getting canceled and stuff. And I agree that was an issue, but that's a specific issue. To frame it as some sort of free speech problem was a misdirect. It wasn't. It wasn't a free speech problem. It was that people were getting cultural pushback. That is not a constitutional issue. No one was being put in jail for saying anything. That's a free speech issue. But my problem is you're going to start talking about anti-woke, and that's going to be your point of view. That's going to be your ideological, grounding for what you do. Okay, that's fine. But why does it have to be the same 4 fucking things? It's like they talk about the same shit. And I don't know a better definition of hack. I mean, after a certain point, it's like, so what juice does the word retard really have? How much shit do you have to give trans people? What is your big problem with gay people? What's your big problem with women? It's like, what is this, the fucking 80s again? And it's so, to me, the problem is that language evolves. Okay, we don't use the word chink anymore. Well, maybe some of them do. You don't use the word Oriental anymore. You don't use the word colored anymore. Is that, in a democratic world, people learn to treat other people with respect, communities, and live with it. So this pushback, I don't know how you frame it as anything other than.
But I think it's an outward vocalization of the time. I just went and saw Ricky Gervais at the Hollywood Bowl.
What a bore.
No, brilliant.
You loved it.
I loved it.
All right, go ahead.
Fucking brilliant.
All right.
Fucking brilliant. And he talked about kind of like this on stage. I think this new show is called Mortality. And he talked about, what we are appalled at or what we think is stupid is all about the time. And this is what I'm talking about, our cultural shift. We're not shifting it, it's shifting. He goes like, listen, right now, everybody talks, the worst thing you can be is a racist. You can't, and it is right now. I mean, if that's probably the number one negative.
I don't think that's true. I think that maybe since he's written that show, the screw is turned. It doesn't seem to be the most negative thing at all. But we have a president who's a racist, and he's very popular.
He's not identified as one, though.
Well, how much digging do you have to do? Get me on a computer. I can do it in 2 clicks.
No, I know, but half the country doesn't agree with you.
So it's not the biggest problem, is it?
It's if you call him that, it's incredibly.
People call him that every day.
I know, and they are hating it.
Who is?
The people that are following that side.
Well, I'm just saying that the premise is faulty.
Well, let me tell you that,
right.
But let me finish the premise. The premise is whatever you believe is a racist move. If Ricky Gervais lived 100 years ago and bought 100 slaves, he's an aristocrat. He's not a racist. He would be applauded for owning a plantation and being that. And because he doesn't live there.
Well, we're coming close to that again. So I still think the timing is off.
But the point is, right now, if somebody tried to buy 100 slaves and had, African-American people
working
working
for
them.
them. It's going to be Mexicans or it's going to be white people.
No, the Mexicans are being thrown out right now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, until they create a new cast of people that'll fill those jobs. I mean, it doesn't. I don't want to get into politics.
Go ahead.
No, it's.
I don't mind.
I
love your passion.
I understand what you're saying, and I look. I think you can say whatever you want. I don't care. I have no, I've been filthy. I've said all the bad things on stage. I've been doing this a long time under the radar in a lot of ways, and I have tried everything. I've done things that were inappropriate on stage. I've said things that were inappropriate on stage, and my experience with people receiving those things and talking to people, and I've evolved the way I present comedy. I think when you talk about Jackelyn, he's just saying that, isn't there a creativity workaround that could be funny without creating this juice that just comes from using words that used to be kind of triggering and are less now because the dominant cultural force is now slightly fascistic and leaning towards alienating those voices. So now that we've crossed that hump into what we are now, aren't you just kicking someone when they're down and just being a hack? Because there is no real progressive pushback anymore. They've won. Right, so that side has won. They've won culture, and they've won the presidency, and now you have a lot of frightened people that believe in what was once democracy in terms of respecting all types of people. That's kind of gone. So do you continue along that track of being the victim of something, some liberal conspiracy, when it clearly is over? I don't know. So maybe I stand with Jeselnik.
Yeah, my understanding of what he was saying was less about politics and where we are as a culture and society right now, and more about the art of comedy. And to him, it's not comedy just to say something shocking.
That's
but
right. It's a workaround.
Yeah.
You know, be more creative.
Yeah.
Don't be a hack.
Howie Mandel here. Most cats aren't drinking enough water. Why? Because that's still water. It's like a petri dish of ooh and bacteria. This can lead to kidney disease, bladder issues. Basically, your furry friend's plumbing is going to break down faster than my patience in a crowded elevator. That's where the Kitty Spout 2.0 comes in. It mimics a running sink tap, which cats love, and keeps water fresh with a triple filtration system. For a limited time, you can get up to 70% off and free shipping on orders over $110 with the code Howie10 at kittyspout.com.
But you also are giving comedy a lot more power than I think it has in our society.
I think that might have been true a few years ago, but I don't think that's true anymore. Because with what you're doing now, what you're doing here, once old-time show business, look, if you connect all this anti-elitism, anti-Hollywood talk to right-wing ideology and propaganda, what has happened now is that old-time show business is anemic. It's dead.
Yes.
And so, what's happened is, and in a good way, entrepreneurial way, which is, sort of, your bag, is that, you can start your own show business and you can find your own audience.
Right.
And, that all, seemed pretty good. But if a lot of, and these are comics, if the audience that you build has decided they know what real comedy is, they know that woke people suck, they know that, whatever, scientists are liars, they know that, whatever the ideological foundation of that audience is, if you're a comic at the tip of that iceberg and you're championing that just by being funny and then skirting the responsibility by saying like, yeah, I'm just a comic, my fans are my fans, then I think you're being disingenuous or stupid. I do think that comedy or certain comedians have a great deal of cultural weight now. You don't have.
When I was coming up, Mort Saul, who was a comic, was making political. What, you don't like Mort either?
No, I don't mind Mort, but I just think that there's no analog to the time we're living in now.
Right, and I think that we changed. There's cultural changes. The way I don't know that the Beatles would make a mark today. I love the Beatles. I think that they were brilliant. I think that they were earth-shaking, shattering. I think that they were. I don't think that they would even connect today.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like.
What's to say? It's another art form. It's music.
Yeah, but I think that, like, I agree with you. The culture has changed, but it is okay to say for the worst. And if you don't want to do that, that's your bag. But like, if I'm going to like look at politics and show business and, the momentum of what is like this propaganda generating critical thinking killing machine that we all spend our life looking at, that like there's other elements that are involved in terms of the impact they have on people that never existed before. So You're choosing to see the culture, hey, this happens, culture changes. But in the way that it's changing with the tools that we have and they use, the omniscient they, to fuck with people's heads, I think it's fine to say that, but I do not think it's like some sort of like, hey, we got to embrace it.
Not embrace it, but I think we are responsible as human beings, forget about being comedians, to react to and in a proactive way. So I agree with what you're saying. I agree that this our culture right now is fucked and the world is fucked. So why walk away when you have a voice that comes from a good place? Why walk away? Because this is the way you can deliver.
It's not that big of. I don't have that big a voice. I don't.
But collectively, people like you do. So when people walk away and quit,
I'm not walking away. I'm doing stand-up. I'm going to be doing some acting. I'm sure I'll be on.
Stick is great.
Thank you. I'm sure I'll be on Instagram, or I might find another outlet once I take a little break to speak my mind. But I never stop speaking my mind. But ultimately, because of the way bubbles work and because of my lack of desire to get into the clusterfuck shit show of you're reacting to trolls or generating clickbait or generating controversy to be part of the argument of whatever it is. You know, I know that I service a specific audience of people that I make feel better, that I make feel seen, that I know that on some level I may not give them hope, but at least I'm thinking the same thoughts they are, and it comforts them. But ultimately, you know, to facilitate change outside of just placating, you know, a particular group of people, you know, people have got to get their shit together politically and figure this shit out. You know, if we're even going to be able to do that. So that's the bigger conversation. It's not whether or not I'm mad because a guy I know who's got a big platform, you know, doesn't believe vaccines are valid. You know, what do I want to get into that for? You know, ultimately,
you might had you if you were married with kids, you might want to. That might be more important to you.
Well, I mean, it's important to me, but the dialogue, all the infighting, the divisive, tribalized arguing publicly is just it's a farce and a charade. It's exactly what real power wants you to be doing, as opposed to addressing the problems, which can't be addressed until people have enough of something, and hopefully their vote still matters.
You know that's true, because one of our most popular, like, argumentative episodes was with RFK, and whether or not you wanted to just have a conversation or you just like learn what he has to say or argue with him or whatever it is, it led to a whole bunch of divisiveness
Which
online.
has been on for like it's almost over a year old, and I'm still getting killed.
And you're still getting killed and still getting clips.
Because I didn't agree with him.
Well, good for you.
But, you know, I like to have discussions. And I also...
We're having one.
I know we are. You're very good. You're a wonderful spokesperson just for humanity. You really are. I really respect you, and I respect the way you think. But I am fascinated by... I'm driven by different things than you are. I am entrepreneurial. You don't like to make a lot of money?
No. It's a miracle I made money. I'm glad I did.
You come from money, right? Your dad was a doctor.
Yeah, but he lost all his money. You know, I mean, theoretically, I come from a middle to upper middle class background. The child of fairly irresponsible people. My dad had a lot of problems, and is relatively broke. So I was never like old money. You know, I was afforded a college education. You know, but by the time I really needed money, you know, when I was going through my second divorce and down on my luck and broke, you know, neither one of my parents had much money. And now I give them money. So that's
now
nice.
You're supporting them.
So, well, not totally. It's a very funny story. The way my mother thinks. My mother is okay. She's pretty comfortable. They're both alive and they're okay. But I remember there was a point where, you know, it was in a period where I did have some money. It was years ago. But my brother, you know, he was always kind of scraping by, you know, and you know, he needed 20 grand, you know, or maybe it was less than that. It was probably $6,000 at this time. So I gave him the money. He goes, "I'll pay you back. I'll pay you back." And then, you know, months go by. He doesn't mention it, you know, at all. You know what I mean? And hey, how does the story work? So I'm getting yeah. Oh, I remember what it was. During my second divorce, my mom gave me, you know, 20 grand, you know, because I was about to lose everything. So she gives me 20 grand, and years go by, and I finally get back on my feet, and, you know, and I give my brother the $6,000, and you know, and I was going to pay my mother back, and, you know, I had said to her, "I'll give you the 20 grand." She goes, "No, you're going to get it all anyways. Doesn't matter." So
that's so Jewy.
Yeah, but so I after I lent this is months later, I lent my brother that money, and he's not giving it back to me. He's not calling me, and it's driving me nuts. And I'm telling my mother, I said, "Mom, I gave him $6,000, and, you know, I hear nothing about it. He's not paying me back or nothing." And she goes, "Take it out of the 20 you owe me."
That's hysterical. Did he ever? No.
No, but, you know, you can't loan people money, especially family or friends, expecting to get it back. You just it's the way it is. But so no, money has never been my driving factor, you know, which people can't seem to understand.
I don't understand.
And you know, I was always looking for something else, but I think that might be because I didn't grow up, you know. I'm good with money. I don't spend it, and now that I've made money, you know, I'm happy that I have that comfort, and I do think I earned it. But
you work hard.
It was never the reason why I did comedy. But to speak to what you were talking about before, like, I believe, and I think you do as well, and I think this is sort of what we're dancing around, is that entertainment is important, and that entertainment and doing comedy and offering that service to people, if it's Matt Rife or it's Tony Hinchcliffe or whatever, there is something innocent in a way. Some things are more loaded, but there's something good about being an entertainer. And in my special, I talk
August 1st on HBO.
Yeah, Panicked. I do my thing. Most of my specials now seem to have kind of 3 acts. But, I talk about, the culture and the world and, to my audience. And it's funny. And I think it'd be funny to both sides. But then after that, because there's no real way to go with that. You're not going to give anyone solutions. You could just sort of be funny about what's happening. But I take a beat and I go, I know that a lot of people are scared and it's a difficult time. And there's a lot of, real fear in the world, and I think entertainment is important. I think that I want to entertain you for a little while, and then I say, and I don't really think I got into comedy to do that. So this is a big deal. But I've been doing it a long time. But I'm going to be entertaining, and I did like 20 minutes of very tight storytelling jokes, with a real laugh per minute thing, and I just laid into it and I just killed with it for 20 minutes. It wasn't loaded in any way. It was about evacuating with cats. And it was like, this is the entertaining chunk, just so you know I can do it. And then after that, I'm going to get into personal trauma. But this is...
Did you enjoy that section?
No, sure. I like doing it.
See, for me... this is where we're very different. For me, I get more out of being a stand-up. Out of all the things I do in life, stand-up comedy is my favorite. It's also my panacea for my survival.
Yeah.
And I get more out of it personally than I care if anybody else gets out of it. I have received... a lot of notoriety where people say, hey, you made me laugh. I've been going through a tough time. And I love that when they approach me and they go, hey, you've been open about your mental health. And, and it's not that I'm just honest. But the truth of the matter is the craft of it, I came to it very different than you. I came to it by accident. I came to it on a dare.
Yeah.
And I didn't have friends. I was struggling mentally. When I got a laugh by accident out of total fear, you're making fun of me at the beginning with my hands going. It's because somebody introduced me and I went, okay. And I had nothing. And I put my hands in my pocket and I had a rubber glove because I have OCD and a germaphobe and I carry gloves because when I was out in public, I didn't want to touch anything in a public restroom. And I just pulled it over my head and I started breathing out of panic. The fingers were going up. The audience was roaring. It popped off my head and I went, good night. And they roared.
Star is born.
Right. But it was the first time. And Mark Breslin, who ran the club in Canada, Yuck Yucks, he said, come back tomorrow night. I said, for what? And I didn't want to pursue a career. I didn't think about it. But that warmth, that envelope of people I probably had nothing in common with, didn't know that laughter was this warm blanket of engaging with strangers on a level that I can't even articulate into words is something that I have been chasing for the rest of my life.
Howie Mandel here. Let's be honest. Waking up stiff, sluggish, and still tired feels all too normal. But what if the problem isn't just age? Groundlux grounding sheets are made with silver-infused organic cotton designed to reconnect you with the Earth's natural energy while you sleep, an approach supported by emerging science. Support restful nights and recharge days with Groundlux. Go to groundlux.com/Howie and use the code Howie for an exclusive 10% discount while supplies last.
Thank you.
I have a mixture of that like, I think my journey has always been to honor all the different parts of myself. Because one thing with the podcast, I wasn't beholden to just comedy. I could speak my mind. I could react emotionally. I could, expose the full spectrum of my intellect and my feelings. And, since the podcast, my journey as a comic is I think I can do all that on stage also and still get laughs. So, if I'm going to talk about politics, and I made some tweaks this last time in terms of my tone, I'm very aware of it, that I am presenting a full spectrum of what I do and how I think. And part of it is entertaining. Arguably, it all should be. I know it is engaging, and I know I always get laughs. But there's, I know the different qualities of laughs I get with different types of stuff.
See, but for me, I'm bent on engaging. I feel like the world is speaking a different language, or we're speaking all different languages. And if I can, in that moment, I try to explain that to my fellow judges on AGT.
Yeah.
I always explain, because I don't think people have the same respect for stand-up. And I say, you have respect for a guy who hangs upside down 2 stories in the air and is juggling something and singing a song.
It seems like everyone can do stand-up. That's what they think.
Because it's just somebody coming out and they think doing nothing.
I don't want that. I think that has become too popular of a premise, and I think that there are a lot of people in the world right now that believe they can. And if they can do 8 minutes of crowd work and that's all they got, and then they get a big audience and they got to figure out how to do 20, so then all of a sudden anybody can do stand-up, Howie.
But see, here's where I'll tell you what. If you go
What's the difference?
Here's the difference. In an amateur night on any comedy club,
on all of the internet, go ahead.
But on any comedy, you go up there and you see people die horrible deaths at comedy, and you go, what made this person, he or she, think that they could be there? Nobody is there on their own fruition. They're there because they sat at the dinner table and Uncle Nate said, "You're funny, man. You should be a comedian."
Maybe.
Or their friend, one person laughed.
Or they're like you.
Or they're like me. But the beauty and the accidental. Not accidental, because you're putting a lot of work into it, but the serendipity of it is, if you do something that you think is funny, that you think is inspiring, that you think is good, and you get a swath of people that have nothing in common with you to laugh. It's harder to laugh.
It's great.
Somebody plays a song, at the song's over, when it stops, they all applaud. As a comedian, you need them to go ha 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 genuinely.
But you got, like, there's a different quality of laugh. You got them to laugh at you because you were different than them, and that's something. That's you owning your own space. There was no other Howie Mandel. You didn't get that from going like, those are your real tits. You got it because you were an uncomfortable weirdo who was not like anybody else, and you, for whatever reason, sought the connect to them and their approval, and you grew comfortable with them laughing at you, and you built a voice out of that.
Absolutely.
So. And I believe that people who bomb on stage, I've known a lot of comics that were definitively not funny when they started but they couldn't do it any other way. You think somebody like Nate Bargatze was killing when he started with his pace? When I first saw him, or Todd Barry, or Jeff Lifshultz, Jeff Ross even, I started with a lot of guys that it's not so much someone tells you you're funny, but you believe you're funny. And then after that, it's like, how much can you take to make other people believe that? You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. The biggest inspiration in comedy in my world was Richard Pryor. I went every night.
Yeah,
I talked
absolutely.
about it. And what stuck out to me was Richard Pryor in the late 70s at the Comedy Store, putting together Live on the Sunset Strip, was talking in reality. And he was talking about his drug-addled life.
It was the humanity of it and the humility of it.
And it was jaw-dropping and real.
That's it.
If you take away the rhythm and you take away the delivery, it's tragic.
Not funny. Yeah, that is the model, dude.
But before that, I was a fan of comedy where I'd watch Rodney and I'd watch George Carlin.
Great.
But they were great, but they were an act. This is the first time that I identified with somebody being authentic.
That's the shit right there.
Right. So what it gave me license to do, not that you would ever look at anything Richard Pryor does and
say that's
Howie, was
be yourself.
I was terrified. And if in those moments when I can't deal with whatever's going on, or I don't know, and even last night when you saw me, I got so overwhelmed by the fact that there was no barrier. There was no, I told them that. I said, I don't know what to do now. And I pulled out my phone and I said, I wrote some shit down. I can't even remember what I wrote down. But they started laughing at that. That's not crowd work. That was just authentic.
No, it's you being real. You being real.
I actually didn't feel good about last night, but the truth of the matter was
the best moment, right?
It was the best moment. But that to me is indicative of what maybe crowd work is.
No,
because I didn't write it.
It's indicative of you putting in half your fucking life into being comfortable up there. It's not indicative of crowd work. You were able to improvise with a certain amount of confidence, even though you were panicked. Part of you lives up there, and
that's
you knew.
And that is why YouTube just awarded me 100,000 subscribers.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying, though. Improvising is not crowd work. You know, if you have the freedom of mind to speak your mind on stage out of years of trial and error, and you live up there, that's different than relying on the ability to bust balls on easy pickings in the front row.
I think you also have to separate. I agree with you. I think you also have to separate your crowd work as opposed to some other comics' crowd work, because your crowd work is authentic to you. He is going constantly to like restaurants where he's always talking to people and curious about people. So that
Curiosity is my
that
fuel.
is part of your authenticity, and you're not doing crowd work for the sake of doing crowd work and posting it later
You're
and getting
looking
views.
for reassurance.
Yeah.
Like you're like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know what? You're fascinating. And August 1st on HBO, Panic is the name of the
Panicked.
show. Panicked.
Yeah.
We'll put a click on that where you could subscribe and
give them underwear?
Yeah. When is your last
What are those,
WTF?
Bombas?
You want underpants?
Bombas?
No.
What kind?
Man-made.
Okay. Sure.
These are man-made. These are from Canada.
Mediums?
Okay. Do we have a medium here, Rich?
Yeah.
I like
There.
free stuff.
I'm telling you.
I get one pair.
You
One
want-
pair.
Go
Do you
get
want-
them more. Get them underpants. Get
Unless
them
you
a
want
t-shirt.
large.
No.
I
But
think I don't think-
feel them. Take them out of the back.
No,
I'm
they're like
telling you.
silky and nice
Oh,
and Canadian.
they're Canadian. They're silky. They're nice. It's not silk. What do they make them out of? You used
Modal.
To put, Modal.
Oh, yeah, I know about this stuff. Yeah,
You
I
do?
think- Yeah.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, it's nice.
They'll never ride up. They'll never. I thought you were wearing boxer shorts.
They feel
am.
like 51st State underwear.
What?
Nothing.
Now you're gonna get us in trouble. But I want. You know what? I could go on for hours, but I'd rather. You know what? We should go to dinner one time. I like listening to you. We don't have to do it
There's
on the air.
1,600 episodes. I could do WTFpod.com.
He doesn't want to go to
he doesn't
dinner
wanna
with
go to
you.
dinner. So authentic and obvious. I just like you. I wanted to go to
No,
dinner
of
with you,
course.
but no. I'll stay home. Don't worry.
Stop it.
Don't worry.
Of course I'll go to
I'll
dinner.
listen to the. Who
Where
are
do
you going to
wanna
have
go?
as your
Where do
last
you wanna
guest?
go? You want to go to Craig's?
I like Craig's. Who's
Why don't
your,
we go to Craig's?
Who's your last guest?
I don't know yet. It might just be me, unless Obama wants to come back.
Oh, that's like. Was that great?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
President
whatever.
come to your house.
No big deal.
A sitting president.
Yes.
The first time ever.
What about? Would you have another sitting president?
No. Wait, we did have the agreement. You know, Brendan and I, my producer, said, we always said that, like, if he would come on with the same terms that Obama did,
What were those terms?
we get last edit, we get final edit. They don't get to vet any questions. You know, he's got, you know, once it's done, and that's that.
So is that out there? Do they know that?
I heard that he was okay with that. I heard that it was.
Yeah, but like it feels different to me now because like what would that serve? You know, Obama was a thoughtful, intellectual guy who, you know, and I had him on to do not a political podcast, and you know he, you know, was a sort of genuine human in a lot of ways, whereas you know there's nothing I'm going to get out of this guy that you know is going to be. Yeah, I don't really want to humanize him.
Aren't you curious?
No.
What are you curious
What the
about?
fuck
You
are you
hear
curious about?
everything he's thinking. He types it all and writes it down and posts it. You hear you know what he's thinking.
I guarantee you, even if everything he's doing is an act, whatever's really in there, not great.
Have you ever like come in contact with him outside before?
There's a clip on my Instagram.
Of you and-
No, it was a Conan O'Brien episode. Must have been from the 90s, and you know Trump was the other guest, and
Look up Marc Maron and Trump.
well, yeah,
It'll come up. We'll get it.
It's on my Instagram page. It's a Conan. It's a recent. They just put it up there.
Not on
So-
Epstein's island.
No.
No.
What happened was Trump was the other guest, and Frank Smiley. You know Frank?
Of course
Sure.
I do. I was with him last week.
So Frank's a segment producer, and you know I'm going after Trump, and Frank comes in my dressing room and goes, "You want to meet Trump?" And I'm like, "Not really." Like this was in the 90s, dude. And then for some reason Trump got out there, and Conan had rifled through his pockets or something, and he found a condom. So there's this whole bit with with Trump holding this condom, and they're talking about the condom, and then I got on after. Yeah, I got on after him. And I said, that's weird. Trump had a condom. Don't prostitutes usually carry their own? and then I said, I'm probably going to end up dead in the East River. This might be my last show.
That's funny.
So that was the. I knew then that I didn't want to meet him. So that's something.
He was the banker on Deal or No Deal. He
Oh yeah,
came
yeah.
in and did
yeah.
the
This was before all that. This was just when he was just a New York asshole.
Everybody.
Wait, where is Mark in this one?
No, I'm the next guest.
Have you been enjoying the show
Can
so
I just
far?
ask you a question?
Yeah.
Did I see you correctly? Did Donald Trump just pull a condom out of his pocket?
Yeah, he did. I didn't know he was going to do that, but he did. Yeah.
Doesn't he know that most prostitutes carry their own? I mean, does he? I think this will be my last television appearance.
That's great.
If I'm found dead in the East River tomorrow, folks, you saw me last.
And there we go. What a closer for us. Subscribe. And, well, I'll be listening to every episode until there isn't. When is the last one?
I think it's sometime late September, October, early October. We can definitely have dinner, Howie. I love you, and
I love you too.
more
And I'm
than-
not mad at you. And I felt you were mad at me last night for making a lot of noise while you were on stage.
Oh no, I don't care. That stuff's not.
I'm giving you more underpants.
But it
More
was-
underpants.
It was fortunate
For Mark.
It was fortunate that I was doing well, Howie. If I was not doing well
Yeah,
and
you
you
did
were
well.
making noises,
The audience was
then I
really-
would have been like, "You fuck."
I wasn't trying to hear. Oh, there's a hat. Look, a man-made hat. There's
Oh,
more
good.
underpants. Is that a T-shirt too? Yeah. You got a T-shirt, a lot of stuff.
Now this was worth it.
And I'll give you. You know what? You get him. Get him some Howie Mandel Does Stuff. Give him the hoodies.
Let's
and
not
stuff.
push it. I got
Come
it.
on, go get a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. This is not even. I'm improvising. This is like
I like
crowd work
this.
with one friend. Isn't that good?
Yeah, the hat's
Man-made.
pretty good.
The hat's good. The underpants are great. They never ride up ever, and they're moisture wicking.
Okay, you've done your bit. You've done your pitch. They're happy with
They
you.
pay me. Yeah, they do. They're moisture wicking. You know what that is?
Yeah, I do.
I don't.
It's where the fabric will actually pull the moisture off your skin. It's interesting.
Look, you got some.
Oh, now this is.
And let
I'm
him know if
going-
you want any Skechers
I'm
too.
going,
Okay,
uh,
those and
What
I
size
don't
shoe
need
do you wear?
Skechers.
What
I don't need
size?
Skechers. I'm
They're
very
weird.
weird about shoes. But I guess I'll go right to Goodwill. From
Look at
here.
you dressed like Jesus.
he's gonna go right to Goodwill.
And that is, I think Sonny wrote a song for you if you want. Did he dance? We played
No,
the
he
song.
walked
Did he
right
dance?
past it.
No, he did dance.
I don't think he danced.
I didn't dance in front
We'll
of
put
you.
the we'll put the clip up. When people walk in, if you're just joining us, just because Mark is here and you've never seen him before, they play "Will He Dance" to all the guests.
No,
that
I
come
like
in,
the song. I
and we
heard
guess it. I know, but I guessed you wouldn't. I said out of
I
anybody.
danced, but I didn't get on stage and dance.
Yeah, but
I
you
danced a
danced.
little
No,
bit.
it's not about location. It's about
I
movement.
did dance.
You did dance. We'll
Yeah.
show that. We'll show a clip of that.
Will Mark dance? Will Mark dance? Will Mark dance? Will Mark be dancing through the door? Yeah, lock the gates. It's Marc Maron. Move so sweet, you know I'm staring, knocking it right out of the park. Finky pain from bleak to dark. Ooh, we're getting too real. The Mr. Snake is what I feel. Dancing till there's nothing left. 16 years of what the F? I said, will he dance? Kind of. Yes, but no, but yes. I don't really know.
Do you have a song for him?
I do.
Listen to this.
Thank you so much.
Just listen to this, and this is the closing.
Get your groove on right now. Watching Howie Mandel. Get your groove on right now. Watching Howie Mandel. Marc Maron, Jersey City, hanging out there with his kitties, wit and candor since his birth. Watching him, I scorch the earth, grinding almonds up at Whole Foods, playing guitars for every mood. Mitts and Price, friends on stick. August 1st, I get panicked. Ah, get your groove on right now. Watching Howie Mandel, yes. Get your groove on right now. Watching Howie Mandel. Don't stop, don't stop, don't Jackelyn Shultz.